Welcome back to Summer is Coming, episode 13. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes, and as always, I'm joined by Neil, the real deal. And unlike the last episode where we recorded it and kept it in the vault for, say a month and let it ferment, we will not be doing that. This episode will be recorded today and put out within a couple days. So you'll have fresh off the griddle Thrones talk from Neil and I.
I was going to say, this is our first episode recorded in 2016 for all of you who are probably listening to it in 2017 when Tiny releases it.
What? It won't take me a year, max 6 months.
Okay, that's fair.
So, Neil, I know we just recorded an episode, and so it's going to feel weird to listeners, but it's been a while. What have you been up to with Thrones?
I've been doing just the sort of usual playing in a few small events. We had an event at our local store a few weeks ago that I ran and filled in a spot, so we had an even number of players. That was a lot of fun. And otherwise, I've been prepping for this very fun tournament called Thrones War that a bunch of our friends down in San Diego do every year.
So sad.
Yeah, it's disappointing that you are not going to be there.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to go, because it's like I have to drive down to San Diego for a non-FFG event, which will clearly be more fun than an FFG event, but with how psychotic I am, I care much more about titles and trophies than I do actually having a good time. So it's just unlikely I'll make it. But yeah, it's such a cool event where it's like fantasy football. The kings get together and they draft teams or auction them off, and like they'll say like John Bruno, how much you want to spend for him, and they'll go around and auction him, and then you get a house, and then you all play as a unit, and it's just such a great idea. I really wish I could go. Is this your first year or your second year going?
This is my first year ever being invited, and due to how well I did at Worlds, I'm actually one of the kings who got to draft a team and is now working to figure out how to crush my opponents under my scaly heels.
Wow, nice. I haven't seen the scaly heels. You wear socks too often.
It's because I was able to pick up Targaryen as my team's faction to play.
That should be
so I'm really taking it to heart that I'm now of the dragons.
Be careful though. At Ryan's, the first year for everyone, there's a lot of hazing involved. If they tie a brick to your balls, be careful. Bad things will happen.
Yeah, that sounds like a be careful situation no matter what else is going on.
That's a good point. Point well taken. We learn a lot on this show. Don't tie bricks to your areas and not be careful. Okay, moving on from such scintillating conversation. So let's talk about what we've been up to with Thrones. For me, I've been playing a lot of Lannister Banner the Rose, and I built a whole deck that was basically so the idea is this. I've been a bit frustrated at times with Thrones because I used to play Star Wars, the card game, and what I didn't like about that game, there's a lot I like about that game, but what I didn't like about it was it often felt like I'm drawing cards off the top and I'm going, come on, big meaty character. Come on, Luke Skywalker. I got your like sidekick and your bodyguard, and I've got your lightsaber, but where the heck is my Luke Skywalker to dominate this game? And I've often had Thrones decks where I feel like that, like with Baratheon. You're going, okay, I need Bob or I need Mel, and it's a 60-card deck. And if I don't see them, the game is dramatically different than when I do. So I've been working with a mindset of if I play Lannister Rose, I can have a great number of good, impactful characters that have renown, that can do something useful. Yes, they're not as good individually as like Melisandre, who can just control the game by herself. But a Knight of Flowers can get you a lot of power and be useful. So I've been trying that approach more, and I've been liking it more. But I will say, Neil, I still get those games where I'm just like, what is happening? Where I have another Courtesan of the Rose. Get out of my deck. I want you to be something good. And it still is occasionally frustrating. But I've been liking that. I feel like it gives me more consistency.
I feel like what you need to do is you need to play Night's Watch, and then you won't have to worry about trying to draw your superpowered characters because
Yeah.
there aren't really any.
Yeah, that's kind of the direction I'm going. Is more of a, and I won't get into pack review yet, but we should have said this at the top. This is also a pack review, and there are some cards in this pack that lean in that direction. That I will be playing those houses more because they're cheaper, more consistent, and I'm just trying that control package out more rather than relying on big dudes. In any game I've ever played, I've just never been that big of a fan of like, hope I draw the big dude. Oh, I didn't. Lannister Rose feels like it gets away from that a little bit. And I also tweaked it a bit where I put in 2 copies of Clash of Kings so that I could have like not only more consistency, but a big explosion and a controlled explosion. It's not like a kill deck where you really need to be killing from the beginning because if their board gets away from you, then it's sort of all over. Whereas this deck could be flexible. Is it turn 2 where I suddenly somehow got, Tywin, Knight of Flowers, Randy out? Or is it turn 4 when I get to start making that move, and then turns 4 and 5, maybe I let you get a little power 1 through 3, 4 and 5 I steal it all away and just get 12 power over 2 turns. And it's been really good. There's a couple games where it just hasn't panned out, but overall I've been really liking it. How about yourself, Neil?
For a while there, I was playing a lot of Martell Fealty. It was a lot of fun. It was really trying to push myself out of my comfort zone with the plot deck and play a very effect control heavy plot deck that I think there was maybe one plot that was 5 gold, but pretty much all of them were just like 4 gold average statted plots, but with powerful control effects like Game of Thrones and
Fealty.
And filthy accusations and that sort of thing. And that was a lot of fun. But more recently, with the aforementioned team tournament coming up, I've been going back to Targaryen and sort of starting to get a feel for what I think would be good and interesting. And so I've been playing a lot of Targ recently, and it's still really strong.
Shocker. The big spoiler of the episode, Targ Fealty is still really good.
Targ Fealty is still really, really good, and we'll talk about it soon, but I think that it gets even more tools with this pack.
I'm pretty sure we can just stop now. Like, that was our big revelation. We gave all the secrets. Targ's still good. Yeah, I was actually really having a lot of fun playing against your crazy Martell decks. I'm like, wait, you're actually trying to win the game with Doran Viper and Viper's game, or Doran's game? Have you lost your mind, Neil? And you actually did pretty well, right? What would you say your percentage was?
Oh, that's really hard to say. It feels like it was a positive percentage, but I don't remember like exactly how long I was playing the deck and what changes I made. So
right, I know we had a lot of close games. I'm not sure you ever even beat me with the deck, but there were so many games where it was like, he plays the Doran's game, I happen to have the hand's judgment. If I don't, he just wins. And then there were a couple times where, I think actually you did beat me one game with like a 70 strength Viper challenge or something obscene.
Yeah,
I don't even remember how you did that, but
I've gotten it up to like 30s and 40s with some of those challenges. It can get
crazy.
Pretty insane.
You have that window, right, of maybe like plot 6 and maybe 5 and 6 where you have all those used plots and Dorn is just spewing out buffs to people, and you've got that, what is it, Dawn on somebody, and that gives a huge buff, and you're just like, power for a billion.
That is one deck that I want to mention real quick. Is one week pretty recently, I was trying a Jon Snow deck.
The dual wielding Jon Snow.
Yeah, it was great because I ran Martell as the main house, and then just brought in Jon Snow and Longclaw. So I only played 2 games with it, but I won both games because I was able to get Jon Snow out with Longclaw, with Dawn, so that I would attack with one other chump for a 10-11 strength challenge and just pile up the
Yeah,
power on Jon Snow with his renown.
it's pretty obscene, and it's pretty easy to stop, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Melisandre, I kneel you every time, Jon Snow. Womp womp. But if
Hmm.
they don't have the answer, and they don't have a way to remove these swords, he just completely destroys the world. And so I really like the deck as a fun deck. I have a feeling if you had to win an event, you probably wouldn't bring that deck.
Oh
But
no way.
it was
But
certainly
I
a
wanted
fun
to
deck to
mention it
watch.
because it's a lot of fun to try some
Yeah.
of those crazier things.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I like about you. For me, the crazier thing will be like, I tried Lannister Rose with 2 Clash of Kings.
Oh man.
Crazy. Yeah, yeah. We have a little different idea of what crazy looks like.
Yeah.
All right, Neil. Well, the store champs are upon us, and I have an admission that I just realized today. I've never been to one. I
Oh.
have never been to a store champ. I stopped. So in 2013, I went to Worlds. I had top 16 in Game of Thrones, and things happened, and I wasn't able to really do much tournament season. 2014, I stopped playing Star Wars. 2015 tournament season rolls around. They announce Thrones is no longer going to be supported for 1.0, and I decide I've been out of the game for about 8 months. It's just not the time to pick it back up when it's on its last legs. I'm just going to sit out this tournament season, play testing 2.0 anyway. Let's get ready for 2.0. And so I missed that tournament season, and so I've never been in a tournament season with store champs. So Neil, what have I been missing?
Store champs are a lot of fun. It's good because they're a little. I think the FFG's system of the sort of ramping up levels of tournaments actually does a pretty decent job of. If you don't win one store champ, there's gonna be a handful more. If you're lucky enough to live in an area like us, at least, there's gonna be a handful more that you can go and compete in. So it's definitely not as high pressure as going to the like 1 or 2 regionals available.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun. It also depends pretty heavily on what store you're going to for the store champ. But most
Yeah.
stores are pretty great, and so it's a lot of fun. I'm not sure how many I'm going to actually be able to get to this year. I have a lot of stuff going on Saturdays, and most of them are scheduled for Saturdays. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see if I can make it to hopefully at least one.
I have a similar problem. I'm coaching a basketball team, and Saturdays is often the practice day. And so in order for me to go to a store champ, I have to randomly come up with a reason why basketball practice will be canceled that day.
Yeah.
And it just feels really shady. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, the stars don't seem to be aligned this weekend. We're going to skip practice. So, I don't know. I'm going to do what I can.
Well, just put on a tape of like
Hoosiers.
I was gonna say Space Jam.
Space Jam? What the
Yeah.
hell is wrong with you? This podcast is over. Where's the stop button? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the other thing for me is, I don't know, maybe it's because there weren't store championships back when I was playing competitively. I don't take them that seriously.
When?
Yeah, I just kind of look at them like, it's not a regional. Like, if I miss them all, I don't really care. I'll be there for some regionals. That's where it matters. Store champs are like the fun thing where maybe you experiment with some decks. I
Yeah.
think other people think I'm insane in that they're big time tournaments. So
They're nice, and the winning one, the buy for the regional, which you do take seriously,
yeah,
it's pretty nice.
Yeah, those full, as I call them, the Bruno buys they're really useful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, yeah. So store champs are upon us. You may not see Neil and I at many, but I'm sure you'll be at some, and bring a good deck, crush your poor friends with them, and I think we should talk about the new cards, Neil, because that's what I am super excited about.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited too. The only thing that I don't like about this pack is that I don't have it yet.
Yeah, I have an even bigger problem because I don't live anywhere near a store that would have it, and so I don't know when I'll have it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so with what is this called? Road to Winterfell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's
Which
something
keeps
interesting for me.
confusing me, I have to say, because I'll see stuff pop up on the forums and stuff like more Road to Winterfell spoilers, and I'm like, Winterfell, Stark Deluxe box.
Oh, yeah,
And
right,
then
right, right.
I'm disappointed every time, like, oh, this is all stuff that's already spoiled. I know this.
That's not exciting. Yeah, so for me, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm not that interested in spoilers. When spoilers come, I'm like, whatever. I think it's because I've been a playtester so much in the past that I've always had a pretty general idea anyway of what's coming, and so spoilers have never been that interesting. And now I found that I like not. It's not like I have a thing where I don't read spoilers. I just usually don't read them that closely. But it makes new packs really exciting for me, right? Because I'm like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
there's this crown that kills everybody. And people
I
are like,
also think that that's just kind of
known.
how you play card games, though. You don't really read them that closely.
who needs to read cards? That's overrated, man. Totally overrated. You just give them a quick glance, play by their picture. It's a dude holding a wolf. It's probably a dire wolf card. It's probably not very strong because it's a dire wolf card. In fact, it's the Winterfell Kennel Master.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's start with the Winterfell Kennel Master. So at first, this is again me not reading cards, right?
Yeah.
I read this, just the spoiler of it, and I was like, that is amazing. I thought it was a location. And I was like, that's a great location.
Oh.
So you can continually use this. You could build, there's like any lady character, you can pop them in, then you move lady over, and so you always have this element of surprise. The problem is having it be on a chud that you would be looking to kill for claim makes it substantially worse, because you can't really build a deck around it. If you build a deck around this guy, you're killing good guys to claim and to wildfire, and so I feel like it diminishes the power of somebody like the Winterfell Kennel Master.
That's interesting to me. See, when I look at this, I mean, first of all, I read it, so I never thought that it was a location.
Good for you, Neil. Way to make me look bad reading
But
cards.
I think that it's better as I don't see what advantage a location has versus a character for this sort of ability. That this ability is okay, it's decent, it helps direwolves a little bit, but some of the restrictions make it not that good. So I think it's actually better having it on a warm body that you don't care that much about, and it's nice to have the ability in play. It's also nice to just have another chump.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, my point is, I think if it's on a body that you're treating as a chump anyway, you're not probably building your deck around it, right? It's more like, Lady's a good card, I've got it in the deck, I have other dire wolves in the deck, even though most of them are bad. And so now it becomes good. So, I mean, really the problem with this card is it's really hinging on how good are dire wolves, and they're just not that good yet. So.
No.
But it could be a really interesting card down the future, especially if we have more good direwolf attachments like Lady. I mean, Lady, because you can move it around, so it's like, oh, it's on Rob and he's already knelt, so I'm fine, right? And then they attack with a Kennel Master. You say unopposed. They move it to somebody else who's not knelt. They jump him in. Now they win that challenge by, enough strength to be able to trigger abilities. And it's like it gives you a lot of flexibility, but flexibility with non-powerful cards is not that great. That's really
right.
the
Yeah, I think that if there are just a couple more direwolves, you can see some crazy shenanigans. Like if you start playing Wolfswood, then so you ambush someone in.
Yep.
Then you do the challenges action to bring them into the challenge.
Right.
And then maybe you even have the next card we're going to talk about, and you've just gone from like losing by 5 to winning by 5 or something crazy.
Suddenly you can trigger put to the swords. Put to the sword, you attack with a little chump, and they're like, I'll block with 2, weirdo. And you're like, boom, 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 put to the sword, Tywin, ball game. They're like, oh, that went sideways really fast.
Yeah, or even they're attacking you and they do all of these buffs and stuff so that they can do that, and then you're like, okay, you're done? Yeah. I'm gonna now ambush and completely wreck you on my defense.
Yeah, so it seems like we're pretty similar here, where theoretically, it's kind of a cool card.
Yeah.
Today, kind of not playable. But
Yeah,
it's one of the interesting
I think
design.
it's close. I think it's close.
Okay, and it's one of the interesting design theories of FFG also, right? Is they design cards that aren't really playable today, but in the future we'll be revisiting cards constantly. Like, is this guy now good? Maybe he is. Oh, this is going to be cool. Nice surprise deck. Winterfell Kennel Master deck. Yeah, so not today, but maybe soon. All right, so the next card is a location. I read it correctly.
Yes.
The Winterfell Castle, 3 cost during a military power challenge in which you control 2 or more unique participating start characters. Each of these characters gets +2 strength. So, I mean, there's a lot of good unique start characters, so it's not that bad. But there's also a lot of Tumblestone Knights and such, and so.
Yeah, I have a confession to make.
Oh, you didn't know it said unique, did you?
I did not fully read the card. I didn't realize it said unique, and this went from being a really exciting card to me to being pretty lackluster for the moment.
Yes. I mean, I know I won't be playing it in my deck because it's not a surprise, first of all, right? So your opponents can play around it. They can look at the board and say, I know how much power you could have, which is still can be powerful, but because it has to be 2 characters and they have to be unique, you basically have to really commit hard with probably your 2 best characters on the board and have them both in to get this buff. And that can sometimes be great and sometimes be not at all the way you want to play that turn. As the card pool rounds out and we get these uniques that people don't know of, like I don't know, like Roose Bolton or something, and Mira Reed and all these random characters, then I think a card like this becomes substantially better. But right now you're playing guys like Tumblestone Knights and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it doesn't affect intrigue challenges, so disappointed.
Poor Neil, we destroyed him. All right,
let's move on.
Next we have the Lading and Waiting. She's 2 cost, 1 strength, only an intrigue icon. Lady in Waiting may be marshaled as a duplicate at no cost on a lady character you own and control. I mean, it's an interesting card because it functions to save your best card generally, which is Marjorie. She's just amazing and powers so many different possibilities. If you play Queen of Thorns, it can go on her. If you ban her with Stark and you have Sansa in there, any number of different ladies, this can be incredibly interesting. You know what I just realized? This card is loyal. That really cuts down on the flexibility of it. I hadn't noticed it was loyal. But still, it's interesting. If she was 2 cost, 2 strength, if she was 1 cost, I'd have 3 in every deck I used this in. But at 2 cost, 1 strength, I look at that and I'm like, I don't know about right now. Like, there's not quite enough ladies. If I don't find Marjorie, do I really want to play her to the board just to die? I don't know. She's an iffy card to me. I feel like she probably doesn't make the cut right now.
Yeah, I agree. If she wasn't loyal, I'd totally put her in a Targ deck, but that's probably why they did that.
Yeah. I have 6 dupes for Danny, sucker. Go ahead, try to kill her now.
So, yeah, I'd probably try and throw 1 or 2 in if I was, for some reason, trying to play Tyrell as a main faction. But I don't love it.
Yeah. I feel like it's another card that we'll probably see it today at some point. The other thing is, you could just play a bodyguard.
That's what I was about to say. Just play bodyguard. It's cheaper. Right. It can set up as on the character. Yeah. Just play bodyguard. Yeah,
I mean, obviously in some decks, if you're running a fealty deck or something, it's harder to play bodyguards. Maybe you want to have a flexible character / attachment slide. Like, there's reasons to play her, but I agree. I don't think they're compelling enough. So Lady Sansa's Rose is a 1 cost event, not loyal. After you win a challenge in which you control a knight character that is attacking or defending alone, that character gets +1 power. 3 power if you have a lady on board. So if you have Marjorie with your Knight of Flowers, pump him. He attacks for 8. Only 1 person can block him. He is definitely going to win. And boom, get 3 more power in addition to his renown. It's a pretty good power grab.
Yeah, this card is pretty phenomenal. It seems like it there will be some games, certainly one on the back of this card.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I look at it, and I'm not sure I like it. Because it's one of the. I mean, it's a card where things really have to go your way. Like you have to have a knight on the board, which right now is not a lot of characters. You really need to have a lady on the board, which is not a lot of characters. Yeah, they're your good ones. You desperately want Marjorie, but she really has to be on the board. I feel like this is another card that as we get more knight synergy, it will get really good. Like if there's a knight power rush deck, this will be in that for sure as a 3 of. Right now, just like randomly looking at my Lannister Banner Rose deck, I kind of go, I mean, do I really want this?
For Lannister Banner Rose, maybe, but I think that there are definitely ways you can build your decks to already take advantage of it. Like Martell has the House Dane Knights, and it has a lady in Ariane.
Sure.
So if you are doing some sort of combo like that, then you can actually get a fair number of knights and ladies in your deck.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, though, it's more of a deck building philosophy of I only want so many events because I cannot set them up. And so it always comes down to like what are the events I want to have. And I usually want to have some Hand's Judgments in the deck.
Don't need them.
I would assume I want Confinement if I'm playing with Martell. So I don't know. It's just for every deck it's going to come down to like this would be a good card, but if I'm not building the whole deck around this card, there's probably not a lot of decks where I'm thinking it goes in. But like you said, in the deck you're conceiving of, it probably goes in. In a Knight Power Rush deck, this could be the linchpin to that deck. You'll definitely see play. Maybe not a ton of play yet, but real soon you'll see a lot of play, I think, as Knights really move to the forefront.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little scared.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Next is the Unsworn Apprentice. 3 cost, 2 strength, no icons. What?
Don't need them.
No attachments except weapon, which is always amazing for these Night's Watch guys. Challenge action. Give them a challenge icon of your choice until the end of the phase. Limit once per phase. Neil, I love guys like this that have that ultra flexibility, right? Like, you have no idea what my plans are even. I got a dude here. And can you milk him and take away his ability? No, you can't even milk him. You're just stuck dealing with this dude every turn. Is he a little underpowered? Sure, but if you're running, say, a wall deck where you don't want unopposed challenges to go through, and now you get to basically say, as long as you don't have stealth, whatever I want, I block with this guy. I don't know. He seems very strong to me. His trait is Companion? If it was a Ranger, the dude would be baller.
Oh, well, yeah. But that's part of the Nedliness and thematic portion of it, is that he's unsworn. He hasn't joined one of the 3 sects of the Night's Watch. He's not a ranger, he's not a steward, he's not a builder. He can do chores for any of them, so he can gain whatever icon.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, that part's good. But what do you think of the character? You're going to be playing him in your Night's Watch deck?
Oh, yeah, totally. He's very strong for Night's Watch, very flexible, and I think that it's a great card to choose in one of these sort of early chapter packs to give them a little bit of a boost. Overall, not a huge power card, but just covers more of their bases.
Yeah, I like him a lot as well. I don't play a lot of Night's Watch, but when I do, he'll almost assuredly be like 3 of this guy, 3 of this guy, 3 Unsworn Apprentice. All right, there we go. We're ready to start building the deck now. It just feels like that kind of card. He's cheap enough and good enough.
I agree.
Let's move on to Brandon's Gift. Brandon's Gift is a location. After you marshal a builder character, reduce the cost of the next Night's Watch card you marshal by 1, limit 3 times this phase. I got to admit, I'm not well versed enough in Night's Watch to know precisely how many builders are worth slotting into a deck to know if this card is good enough yet. How many builders would you say are worth playing?
Well, the big problem is there only exists one builder.
There's only one builder?
There's only one builder.
What? Apparently I should have done some research before this show so I don't look like a fool. That can't be right.
Yeah, there's only the one builder from the core set who's the 3 cost, 4 strength power icon.
The guy who stands a
Who
location.
sacrifices to stand a location. That's the only builder so far.
I'm going to say it right here. Neil is wrong. He's just wrong. And while we continue talking, I'm looking it up. Go ahead, continue, Neil. Tell me how wrong you are.
This location is absolutely terrible right now. And unless, like, the rest of the cards in the Night's Watch slots for the rest of these chapter packs are builders, which we know that not all of them are, it's going to continue to be pretty terrible for a while. I think it's unplayable.
Yeah, I just looked. Neil's going to be very surprised to hear he's right, that the veteran builder is the only builder. I am stunned, Neil. I did not realize there was only one builder. I hadn't focused on the traits at Night's Watch, but that's insane. So yeah, the card's totally unplayable. And that's a big hurdle, right? Like, at least if there's bad builders, you can get to the point where you're like, well, maybe I build a deck around this card. I have a couple extra bad chumps in the deck that I want to die anyway, and they power me to be able to do other things and get a bigger board state, even if they're bad characters, just to cause the roadblock so the wall is more productive. But we don't even have bad characters to do it. You got nothing. You have literally nothing. So, yeah, odd choice to put in this pack. I think you want to release the builders first, then release this when there was at least something to do with it.
I agree, but evidently FFG doesn't.
Yeah, future card for sure. Royal Entourage is really interesting because it and the other cards seem to be pushing a new theme for Baratheon. So Royal Entourage is very well costed. 2 cost, 3 strength, a military, and a power icon. So you look at that and you say, wow, that's one of the best chumps in the game by far. Mm-hmm. However, if you lose an intrigue challenge, you kneel him. Yeah. And if you look at how Baratheon decks have been playing up until now, they don't win a ton of intrigue challenges unless there just happens to be like, well, they only have one intrigue guy, I'll kneel that guy. But generally, if your opponent is an intrigue deck, like Martell or Lannister, you just know I'm going to be winning power challenges, I'm going to be stealing power with Painted Table. It's not a huge deal. Just keep a Hand's Judgment back for a Tears of Lys, and I can afford to lose some intrigue challenges. But this guy basically says, either don't do that and build a different kind of deck, or you have to go first, and Baratheon also doesn't want to go first.
Not
so it's such a weird card, Neil.
I mean, if you got Bob, you don't mind going first for Baratheon. I think that the place where it'll find a home is everywhere but Baratheon, especially in places like Martell and maybe Lannister, maybe even Night's Watch. Yeah, so it's an interesting card. I always sort of enjoy this type of card that's slightly overcosted but has a downside, or slightly undercosted but has a downside to make up for it. I think it's a solid chud.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I really like.
Not a whole lot else to say about it.
And if you're bannering in the Mel package, it comes with a lot of intrigue icons anyway. I mean, it's kind of the intrigue side of Baratheon, and then you can include the Royal Entourage with that, and you have protection for him. So I think that's an excellent point. I think we'll see it. I think we'll even see it in maybe even Baratheon Fealty, because they're so hurting for good characters.
Yeah.
Or not even good characters, non-garbage characters that I will almost assuredly just plop at least 2 right into my Fealty deck, and then kind of get a feel for, is this viable or not? Maybe it's just not. Maybe it just absolutely doesn't fit that deck. But you're right, he'll fit a lot of decks. I'm pretty excited about that card. He doesn't have the ally trait, so Dissension will discard him pretty easily. Oh wait, ally trait means nothing in 2.0.
Not yet.
Yeah, I gotta think that eventually it's going to, because a lot of these cards that are aggressively costed are allies. So
yeah.
We'll see. All right, the next card I feel like pushes this same direction of, you know, maybe being a little more focused on things other than power military. In the Name of Your King, 1 cost event that says play only during military challenge in which you are the defending player. Kneel their faction card to end the challenge with no winner or loser until the end of the phase. You cannot initiate military challenges of your own. So it's either pushing you to go first and do your military challenges, or to be not really caring about military, which oftentimes Baratheon Fealty doesn't care about military.
Yeah.
And it saves you from a lot of problems. It saves you from Balon killing someone with a sea stone chair. It saves you from put to the sword. So I don't know. I mean, there's so many good events already in a Baratheon deck that you look at an event like this and you go, in a lot of other decks, this would be amazing. How the heck do I fit it into this Baratheon deck? I got Seen in the Flames. We got Ours is the Fury. I got Hands of Judgments. I got all kinds of stuff. Where is this thing going to get in there?
I don't know. Do you think that if I were building a Baratheon deck, I would consider taking out Ours is the Fury for In the Name of Your King?
So,
because Ours is the Fury feels much more situational. And it also feels like you have to have stuff set up with Bob out first. And it's kind of doing the same thing a lot of times where you're like, oh no, you're going to be able to beat me in military. Ours is the Fury, I win.
Yeah, it's really intrigue. That just completely blows them out. And they're like, what? There's no way. Yeah, but it's such a blowout card, though. I've won so many games off the back of a well-timed Ours is the Fury. And it's even been spots where someone goes, well, listen, if you have your second Ours is the Fury already, there's just nothing I can do about it. I can't not attack. I have to. I just want you to know I'm not an idiot, but I have no choice. And I kind of am like, well, I mean, what are the odds? It's pretty low. And then they attack, and I'm like, Ours is the Fury, blowout, and then they lose very shortly after. So you're right. This card is less situational, but I feel like it's a little bit less of a blowout card. So it's kind of, what are you after? Do you want a little bit higher variance blowout card, or do you need a card that saves you from military? Because quite often, if you're Baratheon, you don't. You can kind of kneel out the big threat, and then it's not that big of a deal. So it'll be really nice for that deck to kind of depend on the meta. But I think it'll be great, like you said, putting in other decks, like say a Martell deck, where now it's just one more level of control.
So
it is loyal.
Yeah.
Oh no, boy, that's too bad. All right, well, maybe you'll build a different kind of deck that's not Baratheon fealty and be able to use it even better.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's move on
to a similar card, sort of.
She's a lot hotter though. Gotta give her that. The brothel, madam.
Sure. Whatever.
3 cost, 2 strength, intrigue icon. So again, not well costed in that direction. But after the challenge phase begins, choose a player. They may give you a gold from their gold pool. If they don't, they can't initiate military challenges. That is really handy early game. Not quite as handy late game, right? There's been plenty of games where once you're in top decking mode, you're like, all right, I got 4 gold left. I feel like an idiot, and I have an empty board with 4 gold, but there's nothing I can do. But she certainly can be useful.
I'd say her usefulness even stretches into mid-game when people are starting to float gold for events. She can make it harder for them to, A, have the money for their events, and B, you not have money for your hand's judgment.
Yeah. What do you think? Are you planning to play her? I know you don't play a lot of Lannister, but if you did, would you be playing her?
Since she's non-loyal, I'm definitely already scheming a few ideas for other sorts of control decks that I would banner Lannister into, especially Night's Watch and Martell.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like with her, we're getting closer to a choke deck. If you
I was thinking that too.
If you play Night's Watch, you have Meager, and you have her, and you have naval superiority. It's like the pieces are starting to come together, and I don't think it's there yet, but they're coming together.
Political disaster.
Mm-hmm. So we've got some possibilities brewing. I think I look at her, and I feel like probably not a card I'll be playing much right now, but I'll probably try her out. If she was 2 cost, obviously I would play her. At 3 cost, I feel like her cost is just a little bit higher than where I would like it to be happy to play her. But I got to imagine I'll try her at some point.
Yeah, I think she's going to be a thorn in a lot of people's sides. Not winning the game, but really frustrating.
The next card is a card that is ridiculously good, and I think may shift the game a little bit, and that is Wardens of the West. A pretty well-statted plot at 5/4/1. If you win an intrigue challenge, pay 2 gold, have the losing player choose and discard 2 cards from their hand. You know what this feels like, Neil? It feels like that total jerk control deck is available now. You have Cersei Lannister on the table doing a 2-claim plot, and this plot You pull 4 cards out of their hand in one turn, and you run stuff like Varys to wipe the board, and they just have no way to recover. Just flat out top deck. Come on. 2 cards off the top. I hope they're good, because my hand just got eliminated. As early as like turn 2 or 3, you can just have them be completely out of cards and top decking. That to me feels incredibly strong.
It feels incredibly scary to me. That doesn't sound fun.
Oh, I know. It feels terrible. I think this is going to be the feel bad plot for quite some time.
Yeah. You're going to have to be super careful playing against it to make sure that if you're losing that intrigue, you better have a backup plan or make it cost your opponent something nasty to pull that off, because everything you just described, I think, will certainly come true and make a lot of people very frustrated.
Yes. I think another possibility is to do something like naval superiority off the jump if you're playing against a non-intrigue deck, knowing that you'll be able to get a couple intrigue icons out. They can't play much turn 1. You Wardens of the West turn 2. They've got this giant hand still left over from turn 1 where they couldn't play stuff. They can't really get a lot on the board. You can pull their whole hand away, and now they're just struggling the whole time. I mean, it just feels like there's so many ways to exploit a card like this. I'm actually shocked that they released a card like this. I could see if it was you win 1, pay 1, pull 1 out of their hand. That's still pretty good. It's basically like a 2-claim intrigue challenge. This, especially with Cersei, it's a 4-claim intrigue. And Cersei's not going to be rare with this plot. People are going to play 3 Cersei if they're depending on this strategy. And I don't know, it's going to feel real bad. And it means I'm definitely going to be playing it.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
If it's feel bad control, Teddy Grimes is all over feel bad control decks. You kidding me? Those are his favorite. I not only want to beat my opponent, but I want them to say, I never want to play Game of Thrones again when we're done.
It'll be interesting to see if all of this discard does really start to dominate, if that then means that people start playing plots more like rebuilding or like reinforcements even.
Yep.
Where like, you're going to discard my whole hand? Okay, I'll just get a free dude from my discard pile.
I don't remember. Does reinforcements come only from dead pile, or is it discard as well?
It's discard or hand.
Okay, discard or hand. Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah, you never know. That could
for an aggressive deck, that might be a good idea. Where you're just like, well, I'm gonna lose my whole hand anyway. I guess I'll run reinforcements to get a little bit of it back.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how heavy this comes into the meta. I feel like this type of deck is much harder to play than like play a bunch of awesome dudes, kill you. This is a little bit harder to figure out, like, when can I actually make this happen? How controlly can I be? How do I actually win the game, right?
Yeah.
I've eliminated all your cards, but if I just twiddle my thumbs for 8 turns, you're going to draw back up and eventually beat me. So how do I balance this heavy control with win condition? And I think it'll be a harder deck to pilot, which I look forward to the challenge of trying to take that on. It should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the reader. I mean, it's interesting to me that we have all these champ cards that have been around forever and are by like the world's greatest players, and they're like, here's a really recent one in the reader. That's pretty new to 1.0. Let's bring it in. And I'm happy they did, because it's a good, solid card that doesn't do anything too crazy. It's just a good body for Greyjoy, and it fills a good hole, right? It has an intrigue icon. That's great.
Intrigue icon is huge for Greyjoy. I played this card a lot in 1.0. I played a lot of Greyjoy in 1.0.
Yeah.
And I have fond memories of the reader, and I think he's still just as good, if not maybe in the limited environment at least, even better.
Yeah. Being able to do what you do, right? You're winning an unopposed challenge. That's what we do. And now you get to draw either another card off of that if you have out the Kraken, or you get a card off this, a power off the Kraken. It's just going to be a really strong card to keep refueling what you're trying to do. And he's a lord. I don't remember him being a lord in 1.0. I don't know if you
think he was, but okay. I don't really remember.
But being a lord is big, right? So we have, he can have bodyguards. He can be reduced. So he's going to be strong for sure. We'll definitely see him. I imagine he's at least a 1 of in every Greyjoy deck.
Yeah.
At only 5 cost, he's well cost. If he was 4, I'd say he might be a 3 of in every deck. But at 5, you're kind of like, you've crossed over into the...
Yeah, 5 is a little tougher to justify.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the next card then.
This card...
The Raiding Longship? You like the Raiding Longship, huh?
This card really scares me. This card terrifies me. Because it can already be tricky to ensure that you can defend against all of the Greyjoy stealth.
Yep.
And now even if you pull a trick with like Arianing someone in, ambushing someone in, adding an icon, having guys with stealth, they can still just say, nope.
Yeah, I kind of hate this card. I kind of hate this card because of that. I feel like the Balon Seastone Chair, not Balon, I guess, but Stealth Seastone Chair is super strong, right? It's like ridiculously strong, but we've found ways to handle it, and you just named them. And this card basically says, oh yeah, those ways you figured out to handle it, those are gone too. Find new ways. And it's like, really? I mean, that was really hard to figure out these processes for stopping such a strong ability, and now you've stripped those away. I mean, it's harder because Greyjoy has more setup that they have to accomplish to be able to have this all come to fruition, but it just seems like whenever you're playing a Greyjoy player, it's like, Balon Chair Kraken by turn 2, and now it'll probably be all 3 of those Raiding Longship as well, and they'll just be going, come on, man. You can't get them all every game. How is this happening?
And it's a warship, which has synergy with some of their other cards. I guess the one saving grace is supposed to be it's without attachments. So if you have attachments on your defending character, great, good for you. But
which is always also good because Seastone Chair says the same thing. So if Greyjoy tilts back to being dominant, you just start playing piles of attachments, and then they cry because their abilities don't work. But you're right. There aren't a lot of attachments that people are playing right now anyway. So
yeah, at least not positive attachments that you can like reliably put on your characters.
Yeah.
So
I've seen people milk their own guys so that Balon could not kill them. It's very rare. But the time it happened, I was like, what? You're milking your Tywin? It's like, well, after I finally figure out how to deal with Balon, then I'll be able to confiscate it later. And it's like, I don't know about that one. But there you go.
Yeah.
There's your answer. Just milk all your own guys, Neil. Milk that Danny.
Great. I'm looking forward to the meta where we all have to milk our own characters.
Yeah, 3 milks, mostly for your own guys. It's awesome. It's going to be the best meta ever. All right. Let's look at Rakaro. This is another guy where I did see a spoiler, and I was like, this card is bananas. Like, best card in the game, basically, because I thought it said, while you control another Dothraki character, he gains Intimidate. So if he gained Intimidate and was a power grabber, the dude would be amazing. Problem is, Neil, are there any other Blood Riders in the game right now?
Not yet, but
not yet.
I have to hope that FFG is going to put in at least 1, maybe 2 other Blood Riders this cycle.
Yeah, that would be pretty foolish to just be like, we'll get to that sometime. You know, maybe with the Targ box in a couple of years, we'll put some Blood Riders in. But when they do, Intimidate it's probably the strongest ability in the game. It's just so crazy good. It's close to it. I mean, whenever someone attacks with Intimidate, you're like, oh no! I have to find a way to block that. I can't leave it unopposed or all my plans fall apart. So that's good. And I'm really excited about this idea that we have a power grabber in Targaryen. We haven't really had that yet.
No, there's not a ton of ways to really grab a lot of power in Targ, so hypothetically, if you get the pain train rolling with Drogo and all of your multiple military challenges, he can really do some work.
Yeah.
He's also non-loyal, so I don't know, maybe putting him in Stark and getting some power off of those juicy 3-claim winter is coming military challenges.
Does he claim a power for each guy that dies, or just if someone dies? I'm a bit unclear on that one. After a character is killed, claim a power. So it kind of sounds like it's each one, but I'm not
think
entirely
it's
sure.
each one. We'll have to get back to you and double
If it
check.
is,
but I'm pretty sure it's each one.
Yeah, that does make him even better. A 3-claim challenge is a lot of power just to immediately grab. So I'm a bit torn on him. I want to see him in action. I could easily see him being that missing piece that really pushes an archetype like that over the top. Because in addition to just killing now, it's killing and grabbing power, which is really strong. But he has 6 costs, so he's taking one of those big dude slots, and that's a little bit tough.
Yeah.
All right. I think the card that you probably like best in the pack, and that I think is a really exciting card, is the Crown of Gold.
I definitely like the card. I don't know if it's my favorite in the pack, but it's a really strong card. I think.
I think so too. Pay 4 to kill a guy is pretty darn strong. It won't kill everyone, but it kills a lot of really, really good guys. What I hate about the card, that I absolutely hate about it, Neil, deck limit 1, I do not like that mechanic. I'm just going to say it right now. I've played Conquest. I thought it was okay. The 1-ofs in decks is one of the reasons why I stopped playing that game. Because it just felt so bad when your opponent draws it, right? Like, I have this location that everything is built on it, but it's only a 1-of. Boom, turn 1, there it is. And you're like, really? Really? And I feel like that's going to happen with this card, right? That it's like, okay, I'm fine, unless they just happen to get their 1-of Crown of. You've got to be kidding me. Mel's dead? No! I've been playing around Dracarys every turn, and he got me with a Crown. And it's frustrating, but it is a super strong card.
I proxied it last week into my Targ Fealty deck, and I didn't draw it once in 3 games, I think.
That's the other problem. You can't count on this card, right? It's more of like oh, awesome, I got it. Cool.
I do think that there's now going to be an argument to be made for building season, or building orders rather, so that you can try and grab your Crown of Gold.
Yeah, but it's only the top 10 still. You're still at like a 1 in 4 shot mid-game. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just hate those kind of games, right? Where you're like, well, we're down to 1 in 4 shots that I win or I lose. It's feel bad on both sides. If you dig for it and you miss, you feel terrible. If you dig for it and you hit and you kill their Melisandre that's controlling the board, that feels terrible. So, on the one hand, I love this card. I think it's super cool. And on the other hand, I'm kind of terrified that I will hate this card both as user and as abused person by the card.
Yeah.
So.
But shout out to it giving the person it's attached to the king trait.
I can't wait to see everything that means. It's going to be interesting. All right. Now we're to my favorite card, and probably your favorite card as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Nymeria Sand is basically that Night's Watch guy, only freaking amazing. Like, possibly best card in the whole game.
So good.
So basically, you choose an opponent's character until the end of the phase even. You get to strip away an icon of your choice from that character, and then she and every other Sand Snake you have gains that icon. So many possibilities. Balon just crushing you with Seastone Chair? What? He can't even do military challenges. What are you talking about? He doesn't have a military icon anymore. Oh, you have that Tywin that I can't tears? Really? You sure about that? Taking his intrigue, giving it to her so she wins the intrigue, and then tearsing that poor bastard. I mean, the possibilities with her are endless, Neil.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see, because there's a lot of hype around her because this ability has so much potential. It'll be interesting to see if it does turn out to be as brutally tricky and amazing that we all think it is, because she is still a 4-strength character, so she can get burned down really easily. She
gets a crown on.
Yeah, she can get the crown. There are a lot of effects that can hit her at 4 strength.
Yep.
And she's very weak to milk.
Yes, that's true. You milk her, she is not that great anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to think where she's really going to shine, I think, is in these mini curve decks. Like having her as the 5 cost, along with Arion, being able to do tricks, having Varys, wiping the board. I just feel like that control archetype got so much better. It was already pretty strong, and I feel like it got a lot stronger. And I also feel like she can go with the Lannister deck, the Lannister hand destruction deck. She can fit in that deck.
Sure.
I mean, that to me, that is instantly the deck I'm making. I'm like, all right, Wardens of the West, Nymeria Sand, Cersei. What else goes in this deck? I don't know yet, but I know those 3 cards are in there, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, she's going to be very strong. It is a little tough because she isn't a lady at all, so
Yep.
rightfully so. I think it would be too strong if Doran could buff her, and you also don't get the noble cause discount. So
Yeah, you don't get bodyguards.
But her being non-loyal, I think, yeah, it just opens up a world of possibilities for all the control decks. Night's Watch,
Yeah.
Lannister,
I'm really excited
Baratheon, anything.
that she's non-loyal and the Maester's non-loyal. It gives you a lot of
Yeah.
icon removal. So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I really think control. I love control decks. I'm a control guy, and I just haven't been playing them yet in 2.0, which I think has been making me like 2.0 a little less because I like low-cost control decks.
Yeah.
And now I feel like with her, I'm like, all right, now they're here. Like they were here before, but now they are here. And so I'm like, I couldn't have been more excited for any other card. And Neil, I first saw this card last night. I had not
Really?
seen this card before last night. When I saw it, I went, what?
Do you just giggle in glee?
Oh, yeah, you should have seen me. I was like, no, that card can't exist. What? And I was actually looking at like some other people talking about cards, and they were like, Nymeria is really good. And I was like, what? The Stark Direwolf is already... And she's good? What? And then I realized it wasn't a Stark Direwolf. It's actually an awesome, amazing card. So, yeah, super excited for this card. This card alone makes me want to play a lot of Game of Thrones now. Like, I just want to stop the show and go play with that card. All right. In Doran's name, an event that gets you gold. To me, this is probably a big no. Like I said a while ago, events take up a very crucial slot of not being able to set them up. I only want so many. I want them to be very impactful. I feel like this is only medium impactful.
This is, of course, a card that starts my gears turning. And how can this card become amazing? Because on first glance, it doesn't seem that great. I have a thought that we'll come back to when we get to a certain plot in a little bit.
Oh, I like where this is going.
I think I agree that I don't think that this card is very good yet. Maybe one day there will be a combo deck that needs a really expensive turn late game to blow everything up and wreck the world, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Basically, I like the existence of a card like this. I really don't think anyone's going to play it. I mean, a way they would play it is if choke decks become big. Which, again, I don't think we have the tools yet, but it would get around choke quite well.
That's true.
All right. Sirio Farrell, I feel like he is bananas good. And I think a lot of it depends on Greyjoy. If Greyjoy continues to be a house people go to, this is an amazing answer for a control deck for Greyjoy. Because then only Balon is able to get by him. Every faction now has stealth, and not only stealth on this guy, but 2 guys that can have stealth. And it leaves so much flexibility. If you're playing that Lannister Martell deck and you don't have a lot of military icons, suddenly you get one on whoever you need it to be on for that turn. I feel like that is a really, really strong ability that people are underestimating right now.
Yeah, there are already a lot of characters, especially in the higher cost brackets for some factions that have intrigue and power, but they would love to get a military and stealth. Oh man, I mean, it's expensive to set him up with someone like Dany or Queen of Thorns or Doran, but if you do, they're just gonna destroy everything.
Yeah, you get the chance then to do 3 challenges with Dany, with standing with a handmaiden, Sirio, whatever. It's not that out of the realm to get all 3 challenges off basically every turn.
My dream is 4.
4.
Yeah, have Drogo out also.
Oh, sure, why not? And then why not be bannering Rose with Olean as informant and do 5, Neil? Let's just do 5.
Okay. I think that maybe 6, and also running the plot that lets you do an additional military challenge.
Why not, Neil?
Yeah.
Why not? Let's live for the stars. I do agree at 5 cost, he's a little pricey. But
Yeah.
but the
And it
stealth,
can be tricky sometimes if you're trying to run a fealty deck.
sure.
Now there's starting to be enough neutral characters that you're not just throwing in the same number of Littlefinger in every deck. Now Sirio competes.
Yeah, he may take a Littlefinger slot, possibly. Littlefinger does so.
Littlefinger's
much,
so good.
Yeah, I think he's really strong. Again, Milk crushes him. So we have a
Sure.
number of characters in this pack where Milk doesn't just impact them; it just obliterates them. So we'll see if I would say we'll see if Milk becomes more ubiquitous, but everyone runs like 2 to 3 in our meta already. I don't think it can become more common.
Nope. We'll see if attachment removal becomes more common, if people have to think more about it than just, I'll throw confiscation in my deck. That's enough.
Yeah, I could easily see him actually fitting at least as a one of in my Baratheon fealty deck. I'm really tight on neutral cards, but he's just so good. Being able to give people stealth, protecting against Greyjoy, being able to push through, any challenge. I really like this card a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Shadow Black Lane.
Whew.
Boy, this card could be interesting. When we first talked about it, I didn't hear you say the words top 10 cards in your deck, even though that's how all the search are. But essentially, it's win an intrigue, look at the top 10, and get an in-faction event. So there are definitely restrictions, and this will not go in every deck because tons of decks don't have enough in-faction events. But Neil, what is your favorite deck that would definitely use this card?
Last week, I already proxied 2 copies of it into my Targ fealty deck, and it didn't disappoint.
How many Dracarys did you get from it? I want to know right now.
Across like 2 or 3 games, I want to say I got like 3 Dracarys and a Fire and Blood or a Waking the Dragon, one of the other events.
That's pretty good.
I think 2 Dracarys and one of those others. One of the games I didn't see Shadow Black, but
gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty strong.
It's really strong in Targ, really strong in Martell.
Could be strong in Baratheon as well. They have a number.
Could be strong.
Seething Flames, being able to pull
pretty
one of
strong
those.
in Lannister, I'd say.
Yep, Treachery, pushing them out a window. You got some stuff. Yeah, it's only getting better, right? This is a card that is going to be. I wouldn't be shocked if in 2 years from now it's in every deck as a one of at least, and then it's just like, okay, cool, I'll go get some events.
Yeah, certainly not
advantage.
every deck, but every deck that likes intrigue.
Oh yes, my mistake.
But then again, even every deck that likes intrigue, if you're doing a heavy banner, it's not as good because it has to be in faction. So it's a really strong card, but you definitely have to. It's a deck construction card.
Yeah, I agree. And as you were about to say earlier, I really like the idea that you had of. So you spent a couple Dracarys that you've got off your Shadow Black Lane. Your opponent has the big sigh. All right, there's only one left. It's unlikely he'll get it. What have you been doing to ensure that you get to trigger Shadow Black some more and get more Dracarys?
Oh, I just throw a rebuilding in the deck. So
why not?
Slip back in 3 more Targ events or your Crown of Gold, and now you get to just keep drawing them with a Shadow Black Lane.
Yeah, I think that combo is going to be, if nothing else, let's say it doesn't net you that much, right? It nets you fear. Dracarys is a card that, when there are not at least 2 in the discard pile, it changes the way your opponent plays the game. They are very careful about attacking with Mel. Usually they will not. It's just not worth it. Once you see 2 of them go away early, you kind of go, the odds are definitely in my favor. He doesn't have another one. I think I can do it. Whereas, even if you were to not have Shadow Black Lane, you just shuffle them back in your deck, suddenly the fear is back. Oh, no, they're all in the deck. He might have one. And then Shadow Black ensures you can get one. I think that combination of Shadow Black, rebuilding, is going to be very strong. I'm looking forward to trying that out myself.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next one. Trading with the Pentoshi.
So this is, I think, maybe the most interesting card in the set.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This card
This is such
very interesting. It's I think for most decks it's garbage. A 10-1 that gives your opponent 3 gold doesn't gain you much. But I have an idea, Neil.
I have an idea.
You're probably
also.
gonna say I'm crazy. Well, my idea is all crazily high gold plots and just run all amazing guys. You're like, my deck is just all expensive, awesome dudes, and I have draw. Maybe it's out of Night's Watch, or maybe it's Tyrell. You get a bunch of draw, and then you just, every turn, you're like, two awesome guys, or at least one awesome guy, and very quickly have this board of amazing guys.
I was thinking almost the exact same thing. Just play all giant economy plots and maybe even run less economy locations
Sure,
because
why
your
not?
plots are so good, which opens up more slots for cool characters, cool attachments, cool events.
Yep. That's probably garbage. Don't get me wrong. I think it's probably
probably
bad.
is.
But I'll probably try it once just to see it and have my opponents go, what? All your plots are just money plots? Yep, every one.
I don't know. I think that there's some potential there. I hope there is, at least, because that kind of opens up another kind of the opposite of the mini curve.
Yeah, exactly. The mega curve. We just coined it,
mega
people.
curve.
I built a mega curve deck. Yeah, take that mini curve. All your guys are punks.
Yeah,
That could be really interesting.
it could be. It might need like first snow.
Oh yeah, first snow would be great to bump all
First
the
first
small
snow
stuff.
might be what the mega curve deck needs.
I like that. The mega curve. Yeah. So, in this plot, the mega curve deck at least is only going to get better as there's more big, beefy, expensive dudes. Right now, not a lot of factions can run a mega curve deck all that easily. But bringing in Tyrell helps because you can have
Yeah.
Randy, Marjorie, and Knight of Flowers in this mega curve deck to really help it. Maybe even a Lannister Banner Rose mega curve deck I'll build because there's so many big guys you could have.
Yeah.
Jaime, Tywin, Tyrion. You could have the Hound bouncing in multiple times off your 10 ridiculous gold.
The other thing that bears just a quick mention is naval superiority.
Yes, that would be just a blowout for this card. Just a blowout. Your opponent gets 5 gold, you get 0. You may be conceding. I don't know. It'd be tough. It'd be real
Yeah. Do you think that it's such a chicken and egg sort of situation, I feel like. Do you think that people will play enough Pentoshi to make people play naval superiority? Or will the fear of one make the other more common in any way?
I'll say this. This is a prediction I made before Gen Con. I think come Store Champ season, naval superiority will see a steep rise. And it's just, now we're getting to really serious events where people are much more interested in preventing their opponent from doing their thing rather than just simply trying to do their own thing. I think we will see, I don't want to say 30% of decks, but around there, maybe even as high as 50 of good players, not just all the people in the event, but the people in the cut will be running naval superiority. I think that's going to be a big time plot. Now, admittedly, you can play around it, like it's only one. It's unlikely that they're saving naval superiority until plot 4 when maybe you play this. So you'd probably have to be careful. Now, this does not seem like an opener to me. I don't think you want to give your opponent 3 gold on the opener and be like, let's all play all our stuff! Yeah!
Yeah.
Right, that doesn't seem like how this would operate. Another deck this could be really good in is a hand destruction deck, right? If they don't have any cards, you can have all the gold you want, man!
Yeah.
So that could be interesting as well. All right, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of interested to play the deck, the plot. I think it's garbage overall. Like, I just don't think you can be like, I need a money plot. I'll do trading with the Pentoshi. I just don't think it'll see play for that purpose. But in a specific deck, perhaps the Mega Curve.
A mega curve.
All right, last plot is a plot that I was really excited at first, and the more I thought about it, the less excited I am. So that's Political Disaster. Fine stats, 4-3-1, nothing special. Each player chooses up to 2 locations and gets rid of the rest.
There is one special thing about the stats that I literally just noticed.
The four
reserve
size? Yeah, that's pretty rough as well. Yeah, so I feel like this is a meta card. And there was a plot like this in 1.0 where it would go in and out of favor depending on what decks went in and out of favor. And like Greyjoy would have just like 40 locations, like save, warship, draw location, and you could play the plot that blew up all the locations and just wreck their face. But then lots of decks didn't do that, and so it was always a meta call, and I kind of feel like that's how this is going to be as well. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, I agree. I'm really glad that it does exist for that very fact as I guess I've heard it referred to as a release valve for
check.
If Greyjoy gets ridiculous, where people are getting their setups of Great Kraken, Seastone Chair, the new warship, the zero-cost warship, and some money, then you get to run this and just make them cry.
Yeah, but against a lot of decks, Stark, you're playing the Stark player, and they're like, locations? They haven't given me any good locations yet. What are you talking about, locations?
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm definitely going to try it, see how it feels. Because there's also something to be said depending on what version of like Baratheon they're running. They can get a lot of locations out.
Iron Throne, Painted Table, Red Keep. I mean,
sometimes Night's Watch will get a lot out if they have the Wall and Castle Black and the Iron Throne and some money.
I just noticed something. I don't see the words cannot be saved on here, which makes it substantially worse, I think.
That's very true. Very true.
You know, I mean, most people have 3 red keeps. You just dupe it, and then suddenly you don't lose your red keep. So that to me is a big problem. It makes this plot a lot worse than I was originally thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get it. Like, it's not as common to dupe your locations.
Sure, but it will be if this plot sees play.
Yeah.
People just adjust. Yeah, so it's interesting. I would kind of rather the plot was destroy a plot for each player. Destroy the owner of this plot destroys 1 location for each player. You get to choose one. You destroy one of your own, and you destroy one of your opponents. And that way, there's a little bit of a downside, but it's not too harsh, and you get to destroy your opponent's best location. And then, they can either save it or replay it.
I don't know. That just completely wrecks Night's Watch, though.
It could be cost 3 or less.
Okay.
I mean, you're right. It might have to be just because Night's Watch whole thing is built around that card.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to see a plot in addition to this one do that. I would have rather the first one was the destroy 1, so it could feel a little more impactful. I really don't think this will have much impact right now. However, I will say the 1 or 2 times when it hits you, you're gonna be pissed, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was not playing around this. What kind of fool plays this plot right now, man? You just wrecked me with a bad plot, and they're gonna be like, ha 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 ha. Yes, I did. So it'll be interesting. All right, Neil. So what do you think about this this pack? So we've got the first pack was really impactful with a lot of amazing cards that changed the meta a lot. What do you think is going to happen coming out of this pack?
I feel like this pack is also going to be very impactful and change the meta a lot. I think that it's going to do it using less cards maybe than the first pack. The first pack, like almost every card, you're like, oh yeah, let's put this in a deck. This is cool. This is changing things. This, I think there are a few more misses, but there are also some very strong, interesting cards that can be bannered or put in any deck. Yeah.
I feel like for me, it's going to push 2 archetypes, right? It pushes that Greyjoy slaughter everything archetype even further to the extremes, but then it's really going to bring upon the rise of the control deck. Nymeria is just so good. I'm going to be really interested to see if Nymeria doesn't just go in control decks, but goes in kill decks also, right? Like, oh, maybe. I got a kill deck, I need to win a military. Well, I'll just take away their military icon from their best guy, and now I win by 5, no problem. I feel like it's going to be the rise of Martell. Martell has still, even having won Worlds, I feel like is not the deck that people consider to be the strongest. Even bannering in, people look at like Lannister and Rose as, you get income or you can get a lot of renown. And now here comes Martell going, yeah? One of the best cards in the game right here. Only 5 cost. Bannering in, no problem. I don't know. I think Martell becomes a lot more prevalent.
I think so. I agree. And what I wanted to say earlier, going back to also the third archetype that you didn't mention that's getting a huge boost from this pack, the Mega Curve.
Yes! Out of nowhere.
In Doran's name, the Martell event could be a part of that sort of strategy.
Sure, yeah. Yep.
That's what I was thinking. That might be the only place you see it right now, is if you're doing a really, just not using economic locations and just doing heavy plots. You could maybe throw in 1 or 2 of that event to just give yourself even more insane economy towards the end.
Could you imagine you played the 10 gold and then that on turn 6 you get 15 gold?
Yeah.
You're like, let's see, I'll play the Viper and Arion. And that's only 11. That's 12. I still have 3 gold to go. Your opponent would be looking at you like, this is not right. You can't do that in this game. So yeah, that would be pretty fun. And a whole other archetype, right? So we have Control, the Mega Curve, pushing Greyjoy even farther, and now we have Hand Destruction as like a completely legit archetype. If you have, what is it? I can't remember which is the one that gives you another intrigue. I think Lannisport's the one that draws. It's the other one. But you could conceivably go 2 intrigue challenges just off your location and just pay 4, hit them for 4, 2 more claim from the intrigue. It's just 6 right there. It's just,
and
the possibilities are mind-boggling.
And then you also win on defense for intrigue and pay 2 and make them discard another.
I have to assume your opponent's not an idiot and is like, yeah, I want to lose more cards. I'm going to attack you too.
And you have Cersei, who has Seal of the Hand, so she's in both of your intrigue challenges. So now it's 8 cards.
Yeah, 8 claim. Let's see you recover from 8 claims, son. 8 claim means when you draw your 2 cards next turn, you have to discard those also. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting to see how, because I feel like to this point, Hand Destruction has been okay. Like, it helps power various decks, but I feel like now you can really focus on it and make it something where you just, I'm just gonna destroy everything, and good luck, sir.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited coming out of this pack. I feel like FFG's done a great job of making really impactful cards that aren't totally busted. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that they're power creeping, it's they're filling gaps that there haven't been yet to provide new archetypes, to provide new answers. And I find that to be a really exciting place. And it's one of the really fun things about getting into a game like this at the beginning. It's like, okay, this hasn't existed yet, and now it's here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, so far I'm very happy with the way the design's been going, so hopefully they keep it up. It's been very cool.
If you had to assign a faction as the big winner here, who are you going to assign as the big winner?
That's really tricky. If I had to choose just one, I think
that is tricky, huh? You're like, I don't even know. Why'd you ask me that question?
I think I would maybe go with Greyjoy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
It's tough. I don't know. If you're looking at, I think that if you're looking at just the faction cards, both of Greyjoy's cards are very solid, very strong.
I agree, but I'm definitely not looking at that. Like, I would say Shadow Black Lane would be a Targ card, or a Lannister card, or a
and hypothetically, Syrio and Political Disaster are hurting Greyjoy out of this pack. Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe Lannister. I mean, it's hard when I think that we'll see this a lot as we get more faction plots. they're just so powerful that
Yeah.
they kind of are just such a big boost for the faction that it's hard to say that anything else really does a whole lot better.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Nymeria is the best card, but I have a feeling she will be used at her best in banners. And so I'm tempted to say it's Lannister as well, because they get Wardens of the West and they get Nymeria Sand. I'm just going to assume that I'm bannering Martell at this point because Nymeria is so amazing.
And Shadow Black's pretty decent for them.
Yeah. So basically the cool thing is by making Nymeria non-loyal, everyone is a winner. Everyone comes out a winner. You've got that, you've got Shadow Black Lane, and you have Sirio. 3 really strong cards that can go in a lot of decks. So, and that's what makes this pack so exciting, that everyone does win. So I think we're going to see a lot of Martell for at least the next few weeks until people figure out, is Nymeria the greatest card that's ever been made in any game, or is she just really good and I don't have to run Martell if she's not that good? So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Neil. Well, thanks for coming by, and thank you everybody for watching another.
We're not going to do a little card quiz.
See, the problem is with the quiz, I always get it wrong, and people are like, "That Tiny Grimes is an idiot," and that's true. But I don't want everyone to know, Neil.
You mean
that's fine.
That's the good thing about the quiz.
So you have very different impressions of that. But yes, I guess we should do a card. See if I can find a card that actually stumps you. I find that hard to believe that I can find one. Because I'm looking at some bad cards and I'm like, no, Neil's actually played with that card. We're very different people, Neil.
I think I'm going to take it easy on you this week. Are you ready for your card?
I am, yeah.
Your card is Cersei's Wheelhouse.
Yes, I actually put that in a deck. Cersei's Wheelhouse.
That's kind of why I said it. I felt pity on you.
-1 influence is 1 cost.
Influence? What's influence?
-1 initiative. That's -1 initiative. It costs 1. It says if it's like when you become the first player. It's worded kind of weird. When you become the first player, you get to choose to either draw a card or gain a gold.
Is it loyal?
It is? I think it's loyal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. See, I'm the greatest. There you go. Thanks for the pity. All right.
Yeah.
Yours.
Well, I also wanted a quick discussion. How did you like playing it in your deck?
I mean, it's fine. Like, it's not a bad card. There was never a moment where I was like, dang it, that one initiative crushed me and I lost. It was more like, I won initiative. I still don't want to go first. Like, this scenario, I don't want to go first. There was even some spots where I was in top decking mode, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need this card. But if I go first, it doesn't, like, getting another card won't gain me anything unless it's like Tywin or something. It didn't help me as much as I would have liked. I imagine I'll end up taking it out, but it wasn't ever bad either. It's a slot. I think probably something else goes in that slot for me. In a deck where you're fine going first or want to go first, I think it's great. But I've just found with Lannister, a lot of times I want to be second. So
makes sense.
All right, your card is probably the best hard card, so I'm sure you know of it. It's Merchant Prince.
The Merchant Prince.
The Merchant Prince.
So he is non-loyal. He's a character. 3 cost, 3 strength.
Yep.
Only an intrigue icon.
That is also true.
I believe he's a companion.
He is.
And his text says, while he has an attachment, he gains a military icon and +1 strength.
This is all true, but what kind of facial hair does he have?
It's like a goatee sort of thing. Yeah?
You gotta stop, man. What does his hat look like?
I'm not sure about the hat.
He doesn't have a hat! Stumped you!
I was gonna say, I assume it has feathers in it because he's a prince of merchants.
Finally stumped Neil, the real deal, on what kind of hat the Merchant Prince has on his head. Got him. Took a while, but we got there. We got Neil.
I played a deck with him for about one game and then took him back out.
Yeah, I did not. I actually ripped up my copy and used it as kindling to start a fire.
There's some interesting ideas going on that maybe in the future will come to fruition in Targ with him and Vase Dothrak, where if you're running a really attachment heavy deck,
Sure.
then you get a bunch of bonuses, but we're at least another cycle away from that being relevant, I think.
I usually just Crown of Gold him. Then he gets a temporary military icon on his way out the door. It's a pretty cool play, I think.
Yeah, it's nice of you to promote him from a merchant prince to a merchant king.
Remember when I was king? All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in again to another episode of Something is Coming. We'll be here soon again. I think the next episode will probably have a guest host. I'm not going to announce who it is.
What?
Wait, did I say that out loud? A guest host of Neil, the Real Deal, of course.
I didn't realize that I was going to host without you. This will be great.
You know what? That would be everyone's favorite show. Because when people talk about the show, they always say, like, that has these two hosts, this really awesome, nice guy, Neil, and then Tiny. And that's the nicest thing they can say about me. All right. Well, thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. And stay tuned to the next episode of Summer is Coming.
Thanks.